Love, design, and food have helped me get through tragedy and loss and led me to new directions in finding out who I am. The title of this slide is a bit misleading because I'm not sure I've actually found me yet, but this is the path I'm following. I grew up in Toronto. When I was quite young, I developed a vivid memory from being in my grandmother's backyard. She grew tea roses, and the entire garden smelled of them. I quickly discovered that my favorite treat, raspberries, smelled exactly like tea roses. My nose and my palate were awakened. Shortly thereafter, being a child of the 60s and seeing the incredible evolution of advertising, I discovered that I actually loved advertising. I liked the idea of explaining things to people in interesting ways. So I'd spend a long time in the bathroom every day doing commercials for toothpaste and deodorant in the mirror. Don't tell anyone I told you that. Eventually, our family moved to Vancouver. And in high school, I discovered Canadian superstars like Heather Cooper. She created this amazing image behind me. The work of designers like Alan Fleming, Burton Kramer, and Gottschalk and Nash was exciting to me. So I applied to Vancouver School of Art. Okay, back to food now. Stay with me. I'm in my first year of art school, and my incredible chef and Renaissance man uncle introduced me to Julia. She taught me how to make perfect scrambled eggs, and that butter is the very foundation of life. I became a budding foodie. Now, everyone knows that food is the way to a man's heart. I'd like to introduce you to my soulmate, Ray. As you can see, at this point in his life, he needed a little bit more Julia. And I was just the girl to make that happen. I met Ray in art school. He brimmed with a fire about design and perfection, and I was a moth to that flame. Back to food again, and more like subsistence. For all the passion I had about food, a student's budget meant that Ray and I ate a lot of popcorn. But occasionally we'd haul a crock pot to the school and put yummy stuff in it and share it with all the other students. It became a tradition in our class, and food became central to our culture. My baby sister Libby drew this picture. We were a couple to be envied, skinny as rails, young, creative, and quite clearly a sight in bathing suits. This was the beginning of Casey and Ray, Ray and Casey. We got married in 1978, and we were and still are one being in the eyes of so many people. While Ray was between jobs, we had our first son, or the only son we have, Peter. This changed a lot of things. I did the typical make your own baby food thing and tried to balance nutrition versus convenience. Good foods provided important building blocks for him, and I wanted him to be healthy. 5 years later, we had our little fireball, Cassandra. Having two kids is a whole other thing. Their moods range from cuddle me and tell a story to force 10 wobbler meltdown. Both kids, though, seemed to love vegetables over meats, so their palates ran to foods that were generally really healthy. God bless butternut squash. We haven't talked about design for a minute, so let's get back to that. During all this childbearing and rearing, Ray and I built a design firm of some note. There were 10 of us doing award-winning things as diverse as Petro-Canada's annual reports, to wine packaging, and even the materials that initially launched the Olympics in Vancouver. Later, with a new partner, Jim Skip, we worked with the Nisga'a Nation in communicating the build-up to and success around the signing of the final agreement, BC's first modern treaty and a landmark in Aboriginal affairs worldwide. That work led to work with Aboriginal Tourism Association of BC, the Stalo, Squamish, and Leewat nations, and treaty groups on Vancouver Island. And then it hit the fan. On March 17, 2006, we learned that Ray had pancreatic cancer. It's stunning how a cancer diagnosis hits you. It's like, what do you mean cancer? How can this be? We were fine yesterday. But Ray was up for a street fight. I started growing some of our own food. It was organically grown and grown with love and intent. I started looking at everything we ate. I have always seen food as art and pleasure, but now I saw it as therapy. The 5-year survival rate for pancreatic cancer sits at about 3%. Ray never knew that. He just lived. We went to Hawaii and saw Peter get married to his lovely girl, Kristen. We went to Italy. We lived and lived. Ray beat the 5-year survival rate by a year. Losing your soulmate can do a few things. You can collapse in on yourself, you can get mad, or you can rebuild. I decided to find out who I was. So it's back to food. Our food supply is really messed up. Why was I seeing Mexican tomatoes in July at a farmer's market in Richmond? What was that doing to our physical health, our health of our community, our farmers, and the overall economy? Why are we shipping produce all over the world and then buying it back? Design thinking was a tool I thought I could use for options. So this summer I went to Leading by Design at California College of the Arts in San Francisco. It taught me about sustainability and systems thinking, design research, and customer-driven innovation. I took that tomato issue to task, looking for a way to make locally grown produce more affordable and accessible in Metro Vancouver. I talked to a lot of new generation urban farmers with plots of land as small as an acre. They're passionate about growing food at home for people close by and making it healthy and fresh. This is Alan Surratt, who runs a small vegetable farm on Steveston Highway. He's part of City Farms Co-op, a group of small farmers trying to make a difference in our world. I did a workshop with a mashup of people with varied skills and experience who helped me develop ideas like an ice cream truck style delivery service of fresh produce to from small farmers to some of the food deserts that we have in Vancouver. It and some other ideas are a project I'm still nursing along. So my story comes back to love, design, and food. My life is filled with abundant love. Design is my skill in all its forms, but mostly in its use as a problem-solving tool to make a difference in the world. And food is where I focus my energy at the moment. I'm frustrated by the way it currently works, and I'm putting my shoulder to the wheel to change that. Thank you.